A new study from an English researcher and PR firm ranks Arkansas as the third cheapest state to own a home.
The study analyzed the typical price of homes throughout the country from March 2021 through March of this year, and typical house prices in the natural state sit at close to $179,000. That's about 47% below the national average. But if you're in the market to buy a home cheap, probably isn't the best word that comes to mind, or the first word that comes to mind right now.
Yeah, all the time we hear viewers ask, when will housing prices go down? That's been one of the most frequently searched questions on Google.
Well, new tonight, THV11's Brooke Buckner took that question to the experts to show us what we need to know when it comes to our local real estate market.
We are definitely seeing an adjustment.
Realtor Stacy Hamilton says she's seeing a shift in the market firsthand and says home prices are starting to decrease slightly. When it comes to favoring buyers or sellers, she says it's been a seller's market for the last couple of years, but we're heading towards a buyer's market.
The interest rates have caused it to where there's less buyers out there, and so we are seeing a shift.
Interest rates are another big talker right now. Hamilton says they're close to 7%. That's about 2% higher than they were a year ago. And she says that has a big impact on buyers.
Today's buyers have more serious motivation behind them. They're buying because they need to.
But that was a different story back in 2020. She says interest rates fell to around 3% and buyers swarmed the market. Then we saw a housing shortage. UA Little Rock economist Michael Packo tells me the number of houses for sale has a lot to do with how they're priced.
Prices are all about balance between supply and demand.
Packo says prices tend to be higher when fewer homes are on the market, but now we're starting to see some relief.
The home builders are finding a better environment. They're building more houses, and so that's adding to the supply where the existing homes are kind of in shortage. So we're seeing kind of a reshuffling of the sources of supply.
Even though Packo and Hamilton say the housing market tends to be stabilizing a bit, prices are still too steep for some buyers, especially first-time home buyers.
The housing prices under 300 have just come up so much. Used to, you could find a really nice house in the city for $150,000. Today, that's pretty hard to come by.
But Hamilton says now more people are taking advantage of different financing opportunities so they can buy a house.
We have a first-time home buyer loan. It's a FHA loan. In the last couple of years, they weren't used very much because interest rates were so low. So we're seeing those buyers now use that type of financing again.
Mortgage lender Mark Phillips says he's feeling the impact of the high interest rates in his daily job.
It just requires a lot more skill to know what we need to move around, possibly pay something off here, pull some equity from the sale of a house, and eliminate certain other debts so that the house payment will now work with that higher rate.
Meanwhile, he says people should consider their time spent in a house when deciding whether or not to buy in a market like this.
If you're planning on buying that house to live in it a year, might not be a good idea. You don't know what's going to happen in a really, really short period of time. Markets fluctuate and change. But if you're going to live in the house 3 to 5 years or more, buy the house.
And Hamilton says it's still a good time to buy.
Even though we're at a 7% interest rate, we were at 7% interest rates in 05, 06, 07. So this is a normal number. We got spoiled by 3%, but 7 is perfectly normal.
Brooke Buckner, THV 11 News.
Brooke, thank you. So I guess the moral of the story here, and you might be able to comment on this, now we just passed your year anniversary of this. Even though most houses cost more than they did a couple of years ago, Arkansas is still a good place. It's not the worst place to buy a home and stay a while.